chains, keep the faith, read a book, change your name, beat the odds, change the game, do the knowledge that make you.
As you're walking in, you may have heard music by our speaker, Mekka Don, an entrepreneur, attorney, and entertainer. He is an active pop culture and social media influencer who uses his platform to advocate for social justice, racial and gender equity, youth mentoring, and development opportunities for scholar athletes, especially for African American men.
He is an alum of The Ohio State University, where he played football, and afterwards he went on to study at NYU's law school. Shortly after, he passed the bar exam and became a lawyer. His songs largely center around inspiration and perseverance in all areas of life. Please give it up for Mekka Don.
One day, not too long ago, my son looks at me and he says, "Daddy, what is a leader?" And I was stunned because I had realized that we had been saying this so often, but I had never actually truly defined it for him. So unfortunately, I gave him probably a long, drawn-out, convoluted answer that wasn't really what I would have wanted to give. And after that, I thought, you know what? If I'm gonna keep having him say this every day, I need to really reel it in, come up with a definition that actually is very concise and something that's easy to explain to him. And what I ended up landing on was, a leader is someone who shows up for what's right. Shows up for what's right. Martin Luther King obviously was one of the main leaders of this, but he wasn't the only leader. In fact, my contention is that everybody who participated in those boycotts was a leader, from the first person to the last person. I think when you look at Martin Luther King, you can kind of sum up his life in one sentence: he always showed up for what was right. He led one of the most remembered marches in 1963, known as the March for Jobs and Freedom. This is where he delivered the "I Have a Dream" speech. Have you guys heard of the "I Have a Dream" speech? Okay, so he did that. And that speech drew over 250,000 people. So I actually want to pause there for a second. I want you guys to think about that, right? In that time, there was no TikTok, there was no Snapchat, there was no social media, there was no email, there were no cell phones. How do you get 250,000 people to join a march? That's leadership, right? Leadership, teamwork, these are some of the characteristics that we'll talk about. Here's the first one I want to talk about. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And so we hear that and it sounds powerful, but I'm gonna give you an example of what that means. So for example, let's say, you're out on recess and somebody's picking on you, right? And your friends are standing around there, but they're not saying anything. Nobody's jumping in and nobody's helping you, right? Sometimes the pain from that, watching your friends be silent in that situation and not say anything, actually hurts worse than the actual picking on that's happening. And so a lot of times, to be a good friend, it's important that we step up and make sure that we support our friends, right? We don't let our friends get bullied. We don't let people be mean to our friends. If our friends are going through something, we're there for them, right? And if that doesn't happen, sometimes it can be very, very painful. So that's what that quote means. That goes in line with what we were just talking about, right? Martin Luther King's his love for people, his love for humanity, but also his love for justice. And that's a lot of what drove him to do the things that he did. In fact, like, as we said, there are a lot of people that were going to benefit from the things that he was doing that he did not know. He knew as he was walking through his journey that he may not survive, but that, again, he loved people, loved humanity, and loved justice so much that he was going to keep going.